Hope you are ready for the next talk. It's called a deep dive into RxJS WebSocket Subject, which will walk us through the fundamentals and all its capabilities by Lamis Chebbi. Lamis is a Google developer expert in Angular, the founder of the Angular Tunisia, member of Women Who Code community, speaker, content creator, and a trainer. Please welcome Lamis.
Hi.
Hello there, how is it going?
I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
Oh yeah, also great, thanks. So what kept you busy last couple of days? What you've been working on?
Yeah, it's all about Angular, honestly, and a little bit about WebAssembly also.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Okay,
yeah, because it's an exciting technology, I think. Yeah,
definitely.
mind-blowing. Yeah, so into both those stuffs.
I see. So as we have Angular day to day, even though it would be very interesting to hear more about the WebAssembly, I guess we stick with the Angular and RxJS. So please, let's begin.
Let's focus. Okay. So hello everybody again. Hope you're doing well and you're enjoying Angular Day conference. So today we will speak about RxJS WebSocket Subject. I will skip this part as I get introduced very well. So let's jump directly into the talk. Okay, so my talk today falls into the category of real-time topics. Okay, something that I've been working on for quite some time now. Yeah, and I really believe that it's a very interesting stuff. Okay, because the demand for the real-time functionality is growing tremendously nowadays. Yeah, and I kept a keen eye on this, on the scene. Okay, on the real-time scene. And I said to myself, what about putting this feature in my Angular application? Okay, so I have an Angular application in my front-end layer and a WebSocket server, in the backend layer. Okay, and I want my Angular components to react instantly to changes, to get updated with the most recent value of the data. Okay, and I started to search, and there are really great packages over there that you can introduce in your application in order to deal with WebSocket streams in your client side. There are really many great packages. Some override the protocol and left the rest to the developer. Others are just built on the top of the protocol, which so much additional features. But I really don't recommend to add a third-party dependency in your project every time you have a new feature to implement in your application, because it's a cost. I said this so many times in my talks and even in the articles. You have to study it carefully because before you introduce any third-party dependency in your application, you have to check the reliability, the maintainability, and if you're dealing with Angular, the compatibility with the versions, the community behind, the performance, okay, because it will affect for sure your bundle size. So you have to bench it and to see how it affects your performance. So you have to study it carefully, okay? And so I would rather pick something from the Angular ecosystem. And what I was really surprisingly glad to know is that RxJS, which is a first-class citizen in Angular, ships with a ready-to-use subject, which is the RxJS WebSocket subject, to deal with WebSockets. Okay, and I gave it a try, and that's why I'm here today, I think. So, and this is the hero of my talk, but just before we jump right into it, let's give a little bit of background to make everyone able to follow. Let's talk about WebSockets, okay? So WebSockets has landed with the arrival of HTML5, and it's a double communication protocol which establishes a full duplex bidirectional communication between your client and your server. So the client can send information to the server and can also receive information from the server. Okay, they can be pushed without an outgoing request from the client first. And all this happens, I mean, this connection is established after a successful handshake, okay? And this handshake is done through HTTP. It's kind of telling the server, hello, I want to speak a different language, okay? Do you agree? Do you understand this protocol? And if the server accepts, then a protocol upgrade will occur in the client-side layer. And this is what you see if you try to network your browser. You can see this 101 switching protocol, okay, which is done through HTTP, and then all the communications will be performed through this WebSocket channel. Yeah, and the RxJS WebSocket subject is a wrapper around this W3C comparable WebSocket object available in the browser, okay, available in the HTML5 specification. And it allows to both send and receive messages through WS connections, okay, through WebSocket connection. So it's kind of a regular subject in RxJS, okay, and I see subjects in RxJS as observable and observers at the same time. So you can send data to all the observers listening out there, and at the same time you can intercept, emit, and receive data from the source. And in order to use it, all that you have to do is calling the WebSocket Factory function available under the RxJS WebSocket subject. Okay, so you just call this factory function after importing it, and you give the URL of your WebSocket endpoint. Okay, so here I gave the URL. It's local on my machine. And you can use WS or WSS for secure web sockets. Okay, and there are, to be here exhaustive, let's say, there are two ways to instantiate or call this WebSocket Factory function, even by given a string parameter, which is the endpoint of your which is the URL of your WebSocket endpoint, or just pass the whole object like you see in this second screenshot, a whole object that contains many properties. Among those properties, you find the URL of your endpoint, and we will be speaking later in this talk about this special kind of subject. But at that point, keep in mind that there are two ways, even a string or a whole object. Yeah, so I said that you have to call this WebSocket Factory function, which returns an RxJS WebSocket subject, okay, this special kind of subject that you can subscribe to in order to establish the connection with your server. There is no connection before subscription, okay, even when you call it, okay, so you get this instance of the RxJS WebSocket subject, but you didn't subscribe to it, so nothing will happen. So the connection will be established after subscription. And starting from this point, you can start to receive updates from your server. So this WebSocket subject will emit those messages for you. And you will be able also to send messages to the server using the next method, okay, which is available in every RxJS subject. And once you're done, you can just complete or unsubscribe to release this connection, okay? And into code, I will translate this into code because it's much more, let's say, understandable. Yeah, so here I called the WebSocket Factory function. Okay, the import is missing in this screenshot. No problem. So here I got an instance of the RxJS WebSocket subjects, which I called subject $, and I will subscribe to the first part in order to receive messages. Here I am just logging in the browser console the messages received. Okay, so it's an academic example. And yeah, and in order to push messages to the server, I just hit next. Okay, once I'm done, I just complete and unsubscribe. That's all, okay? That's all to test, okay, the first hello world example. Now, does many subscribers mean different sockets connection? Okay, as I said that once you subscribe, the connection will be established. So does this mean that many subscribers mean different sockets connection? And the answer is no. Okay. Okay. So let me show this slide first. So I said the answer is no. Okay. Many subscribers will listen to the same socket connection. Okay, and this is to for performance issues, okay, to gain in performance and to save resources. This was the contract of the RxJS WebSocket subject, okay? So here I will explain this by code. I have two subscription now, two instances of the RxJS WebSocket subject, but pointing out the same URL, okay? So here I have the first instance and here the second one, okay? So I will subscribe to the first instance, so the system will automatically opens a WebSocket connection. Now, at the second subscription to the same instance, I am here using the first subject still. So the system will check there is already a WebSocket connection opened. So I will save resources. Let's use this connection. Now, if I will subscribe to the second subject, okay, it will opens a new connection. And why? Because it's another instance, okay? So it's the check is done, or it's done by the instances of the RxJS WebSocket subject, even if they are pointing out the same URL. I put this in purpose, okay, to show you that even if it's the same URL, but two different instances, then two separate connections will be made. So be careful about this, okay? Yeah, you have to use always the same instance, okay? If you have another endpoint, then maybe it makes sense. But with only one endpoint, just use one instance of the object. Otherwise, it will open two connections, and this is very harmful for your performance. Let's move to the second question. Does socket connection closes when a consumer unsubscribes? Okay, that's good. We save resources. We use the same stream. We listen on the same socket. But if the one subscriber tries to unsubscribe, and I said earlier that the unsubscription will release the connection, does this will affect? Does it affect others? Sorry. And the answer is no. Hopefully, okay. So the socket will close when there's no more subscribers, okay? Again, into code, if I have the first subscriber here, that will this first subscriber will open the WebSocket connection. The same will use the already opened socket connection. Now, now we have two subscribers, okay? Still at this point. Now, when the first subscriber tries to unsubscribe, the connection will stay open because still we have this second subscriber listening. And now if the last subscriber will unsubscribes, then the connection will be closed. And that's great. Now, what about error handling? Okay, how can I handle errors? Well, nothing new here. It's the same as you handle the RxJS subjects. I mean, to send errors, you just call the error method and you can give it a specific code and reason, okay? Now, if you want to handle errors, you just register an error callback, okay? So here, the first callback is for incoming messages. The second one is for intercepting errors. And the third one, which is the last one, is for completion. And this is the standard in RxJS subjects, okay? Nothing new here. So you can handle errors this way. Now, just keep in mind that the error method closes the connection, okay? So it will emit an error for the server and then closes the connection. So be careful also about this part. And to make this life cycle complete, let's add this arrow here, which is the error. And this error will notify the server about the error and then closes the connection. This way we have a complete life cycle of the RxJS WebSocket subject. Now, our outgoing messages lost when the connection is down. Okay, so if I am sending messages and the connection is down, what happens to those messages? The messages are buffered, okay? And this is another capability of the RxJS WebSocket subject, it's buffering, okay? The messages are buffered for you so that you can, so that they are sent, okay, after your first reconnection. And that's awesome also. Now let's move to the RxJS WebSocket subject config, which is the special object I told you about in the first slide, okay, when I said that there are two instantiations types, okay, the first one with the string and the second one with the object. And this is the special kind of object. It's the RxJS WebSocket subject config, which is implemented to handle the customization issues around the RxJS WebSocket subject. I mean, if you want to intercept the WebSocket lifecycle and to perform a specific behavior, okay, in specific moment of the lifecycle. For example, when opening the connection, you want to do a specific process. When you close the connection, you want to perform a specific process. For the serialization of messages, you want to customize it. So what shall you do, okay, in order to handle those customization? And this is very helpful in the real world because you will for sure need to do some customization in order to make things work. Okay, so this is the answer, okay? This is your solution. It's the WebSocket subject config, and those are the properties that you can customize. I mean, the opening of the connection, the closure, the binary type, the serialization, deserialization, and you will find at the bottom of my slide, I'll be sharing later, the link to the official documentation in which you can find the exhaustive and complete list of properties of this WebSocket subject config, okay? And to give an example here, I will show you in this part, I mean, I created my WebSocket subject observable using the second way, okay? So here is my object. I put the URL of my WebSocket endpoint, and I did some customization here. Here I want to execute this process when opening the connection, which is console.log, but just for example, it's just an example, but you can do much more complicated stuff for sure. Here in the closure of your connection, you use the property close observer, and you provide here your process. For the deserialization and serialization, okay, so to deserialize the data, by default, the JSON.parse is used. For serialization in the other way, for outgoing messages, stringify is used. And you can put here your custom, I mean, serialization and deserialization functions, okay? Yeah, and here what happens behind the scenes, I mean, you have the subscriber and you have the WebSocket subject. When you subscribe, if you're not connected, then the connect socket will be triggered and it will open a connection. If the connection is okay, the onOpen method is triggered, and this method will check. Do you provide a custom behavior in the open observer function? If yes, it will be triggered. If no, nothing will happen. If the connection is not okay, then the on error will be triggered. So, and the on error will call the on close, and the on close will check if you have a close observer custom functions. If yes, it will be triggered. If no, nothing will happen. Same thing for messages here. So for the messages, the on message method will be triggered, and it will deserialize the message, the incoming message. Okay, if you have a custom serialization, deserialization function, it will be triggered, else the default one will get called. For the parsing, the same thing. Okay, and when you complete or unsubscribe, then the close socket will get triggered and the connection will be stopped or released. Okay. Yeah, so what are the types of messages supported? Many types. I mean, the string types, JSON, even binaries. Okay, and in order to use binaries, it's possible, of course, but you have to customize the serialization and deserialization functions. And this is an example. Okay, so this is an example of serialization and deserialization using array buffers. I use the Unit 8 array API to do so and to deserialize. Okay, and for the binary type, you have to mention that it's an array buffer, and you're done. You're good to go with that. Yeah. So let's move to the other slide. How to handle the authentication. Well, we know that with WebSockets, that there is no authentication. Okay, it's not a regular HTTP request, but you can do so by providing in your payload a token, or for example, to manage authentication, you can provide a custom token to do so, and open this and send this in your payload. This way, the server will validate the token. If it's valid, then the request will be executed. If not, nothing will be happened. Nothing will happen. Okay. So yeah. So this is a solution to deal with authentication with WebSocket Subject. And how to handle reconnection now. So here I want to say that the reconnection is not handled by default in the RxJS WebSocket Subject API. Neither the WebSocket protocol do. I mean, yeah, the WebSocket protocol does not manage reconnection, nor the RxJS WebSocket Subject, and this is not the expected behavior in the real-time world. I mean, if you are using RxJS WebSocket Subject and the connection is down or lost for whatever reason, then the socket will get closed and it will no longer emit values for you. Okay, you may encounter this when you use the RxJS WebSocket Subject. So yeah, and this, as I said, is not the expected behavior because you want to recover it. You want to recover the incoming messages and all this stuff. Yeah, but you can easily handle it using RxJS. So you have to handle the reconnection, and I will show you an example how to do it. Okay. Now, what architecture to adopt? So here is the recommended pattern. In your client-side layer, it's highly advisable, okay, to externalize all the treatments related to the WebSocket subject in a separate service, okay, in which you handle the connection, the reconnection, and all this stuff. And you just inject this service in your component, or let's say real-time component, which is the component that will display the data in real time. Okay, so this is the recommended pattern. Now, enough chit chat, let's see some code. So here I have to stop sharing, and I will share again the VS Code. Okay. So here I will just zoom in. So I have here my VS Code, and let me just show you something before this. Okay, I will show you, this is my application. Okay, so this is an Angular application, and this is my real-time components. Okay, and here, as you can see, data are updated automatically, and the reconnection is handled also in this example. So I will show you the code behind this. So here I will have to zoom in a little bit. Here is the service I told you about. Okay, this service is in which I manage all the stuff related to my WebSocket, Okay, so I handle here the connection, I handle the reconnection, I handle also the closure of the connection, sending messages, okay, and all the stuff related to the WebSocket. Yeah, so in the connection method here, I just check if I am at first connection mode, then I will just call the new WebSocket function. Okay, so I call it with the second way. I mean by passing an object, because I need to customize some stuff. And what I need to customize is here the reconnection. Okay, so in the closure of the connection, I just call the connect with the reconnect to true to make my client side always listening and attempting to reconnect every interval. Okay, so here, if you call the connection with the reconnection true, I have here a custom RxJS operator that will retry the connection every delay. Okay, this is the reconnect interval, and we'll try to reconnect every configured delay. So here I just I put this in my environment because it's something specific to environments. Okay, so here my WS endpoint and reconnection interval. And I just here, okay, so return the messages coming and in a specific subject, which is private, and then switch them all and intercept the errors and expose those messages to the external world. Okay, don't worry, I'll be posting this code later. Okay, on Twitter, I will put the link to my GitHub project. So those messages will halt the incoming messages, and I will deal with reconnection as I dealt with reconnection as I showed you earlier. And here in my live table component, I just register or subscribe to this messages dollar, which is the subject containing my messages, and I intercept it. Okay, as you can see here, I just process the data, and in the HTML, I do the subscription. I mean by the pipe async. Okay, so yeah, that's all, and this is the result. Okay, as you can see, and here, if you want, I can just stop the connection. I will stop it in purpose to. Okay, so let us swipe up. Okay, so here is my console. I will here. Yeah, I will stop my connection now. Okay, so here is my server, my Node.js server. And as you can see here, try to reconnect. There are many attempts to reconnect to the server every 2 seconds, okay? And here, once the server is up again, then the data will be emitted one more time, okay? And you don't have to trigger any kind of action refresh or something. It's instantly, and it's very fluent to the end user, okay? Yeah, so that's it for my showcase. I will try to share again entire screen. Stop sharing, share screen, yeah. Okay, so let's come back here. So here we see the code. Now let's move to another advanced feature, which is the multiplexing. I mean, in the real-time world, okay, and in a real-time application, you may have many services, many real-time components related to many services, and having different endpoints may be deployed in different domains and different servers. So it may have sense to create many instances of the RxJS WebSocket subject pointing out different URLs, okay? And this will create for you every time, as I explained earlier, a different socket connection. Please don't do this because it's very harmful for your performance, okay? And the recommended pattern is to implement a gateway, okay? So it's a very common pattern. So you have one gateway, so one connection, one WebSocket connection. You will point out this gateway, and in the creation of the WebSocket subject config, you will call this gateway in order to get one connection, and this gateway will route the request to the adequate service. Okay, so it's not your business; it's the business of the gateway. This will really save your resources and your performance. So just keep in mind that there is this pattern that you can use, and in the client layer, I mean in your client side now. Maybe if they are different and related to different services, it's highly advisable to handle streams as if they were coming from different URLs, okay, to customize the behavior by URL or by component. And this is what the multiplex method do, okay? So when you use multiplex, so yeah, you are multiplexing the stream, and it's available in the WebSocket Subject API, okay? And it returns an observable, and you can specify 3 callbacks. The first one and the second one are for subscription and unsubscription. Okay, so you can here what will happen. The system will, at every subscription, will send this message. Okay, here I just sent subscribe alerts, but you can pass the whole object, and the system will send this when you subscribe to the server. Okay, it will send this to the server, so the server can detect from which components this is coming and route the request to this kind of component. For the unsubscription, it's the same thing, okay, to let the server know this is come from which component, and I will unsubscribe or stop listening to this special kind of component. And the third callback, it's processed in the client-side layer. It's kind of telling the front-end layer that those messages are coming from are coming to the component alerts, for example, here in my case. Okay, so you just tell that those messages should be routed to this special kind of component. So only the subscribers to this special kind will get the message. Okay, so here, for example, I put alerts so that the alerts observable will get those messages. Okay, and this will return observable, and you can subscribe to it and process your messages. Okay, so if you have more than one component, more than one real-time component, you will get 3 observables. Every one is for a specific type. And this way, you solved the problem of the multiplexing and the separation of concerns. Okay, so your concerns are separated. And at the same time, you save resources because you implemented a gateway. And that's it. So this is the advanced feature. And in general, so to sum up, the RxJS WebSocket Subject handle the multiplexing, handle binary support, messages, buffering support, event typing. Also, you can use the multiplexing in order to work around the event typing feature. And it handles also auto reconnection. Well, it's not built, and it's not a built-in, okay, but you can, as I showed you, you can just implement 2 functions and you're done with the reconnection mechanism. And in general, if you are using if you are working on a real-time topic, just consider those features, okay? I put them in purpose in a separate slide, okay? Even if you're not working with the same technologies, but keep in mind that you have to check, okay, those features because they are amassed in the real-time world. Okay, so this is in general. And for performance tips, you have to, I mean, there are many tips that you can use in order to enhance your performance. If you're working with Angular, for instance, you have lazy loading, you can consider state management, and I have a version, full state management available in my GitHub account. If you're working with loops, you can use track by, change detection strategy to ambush. And also there is a very good library that will enhance your performance, which is RxAngular. It's very it enhances your performance and reduces the calls in the change detection process, etc. So give it a try. And here is some further reading for you. Thank you very much and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lamis. This was really very, very in-depth talk, which really covered like all the questions that keep coming up, like in the previous parts of the talk that I came up with some questions, and then you just keep like answering all those questions and covering like all those topics. So that was like really very, very well covered. It was really amazing to listen to, and also like, those live demos. Like it's always nice like to just like see demonstrated live. So that was very, very nice. So, but we still do have some questions, like even from the chat. So Simone is asking like, what are some advantages of using like RxJS WebSocket Subject compared to something like a Socket.io, for example? Because like, yeah, please.
Yeah, if you are working with Angular, okay, you will, with Socket.io, you can get what you want. Okay, so you can get things working, but when you're working with in an Angular ecosystem, your bundle size will be less reduced. Okay, so yeah, because when you introduce a third-party dependency, okay, in your project, this will affect your bundle size. So the time of the first loading of your application, okay, and many other aspects if you want. So this is the trick, okay? Don't. What I really want to show in my talk is that don't go directly for external dependency because it's a cost, okay? Even if it's not a very, I mean, harmful cost, let's say, but it's not very expensive, but still it's expensive, okay? Because there is a library which is built in Angular, okay? You have the support out of the box, so why you introduce another third-party dependency in order to achieve this? So this is
Thank you very much for the answer. Like,
yeah, that's the idea.
I have to say, like, there was another thing which I wrote down, like, when you were speaking exactly about this in your talk. And I think it's very important that we keep hearing more about that because people are like very fast just to like install like any kind of NPM package, but this very often has like those performance implications. So I was like very, very happy on the inside that like even in the like kind of like unrelated talk, like this is underlined because this really can make like a very big difference for the end users and like the developer experience and like in general. So we should be stressing this more and more. Okay,
yeah, because end users are, yeah, we live in a world that when instant gratification is, I mean, very common. I mean, end user gets very quickly annoyed.
Yes,
I'm working in this ecosystem, yeah, for years now, and I discovered this, yeah. So
another thing which was very interesting for me, I was like surprised, like I was like so ignorant of it, like that there is like this support for like multiplexing, like out of the box, which basically does this kind of like filtering based on message type and like subscribing for a topic and unsubscribing from a topic. So I was actually, before I thought like this is something which like you have to build like on your own and in your own services, but that this is just there, that's like really amazing. But when this is solved, then maybe you can give us like some recommendation of like once we have this like multiplex subject which only listens to that particular topic, do you usually like wrap it in like some service still, or you use it like usually like in some container components, or like what is your experience?
yeah, I really recommend to externalize it in a separate service. Okay, so this way you can inject it in your real-time components every time you need it. Okay, so all the work will be done in one place. Okay, yeah, and you respect the pattern of this way. You respect the pattern of a separation of concerns. So you have always to keep this in mind when you're working with web application, separate concerns. And this is the idea behind Angular also, with modularity, component stuff, etc. So, yeah, I will recommend the pattern I showed in my slide, which is separate all the WebSocket stuff in a service, an external service, and call it everywhere. And you're done, yeah.
Okay, we have another question in the chat. So it's from Jan. It's about like what happens in terms of like when the WebSocket receives the like message from the backend. Does this trigger like the change detection every time there is like the message? Does this like trigger the change detection for the whole application? So that
Yes.
kind of forces us to focus, right?
Yes, it triggers, but for your component. But the library I showed you, which is Rx Angular, yeah, will really is really specialized in this stuff. Okay, change detection and Zone.js and all this stuff, and reduces the time. I mean, yeah, it will enhance the performance for you.
Yeah, definitely. The library from Michael, which you shown in your slides, it's very, how do you say, like it shows like a lot of potential, like to introduce some new patterns, which maybe then can be incorporated even maybe like in the core Angular. We will see how it develops, but it's definitely very interesting project. There is another, sorry.
Yeah, and I will publish. I mean, I hope by the end of 2020, I will publish a comparison between performance issues without Rx Angular and with Rx Angular. So
that would be very, very nice to see, and I'm looking forward to reading this kind of post. There is another question from Jan. He's asking, are there like some security problems when you lose track of all the packages that you are like using? I'm not sure if I understand correctly, if it means like npm packages or more like the stuff which you keep like sending up and down the socket. Oh no, it's about the dependency. So it's basically about the packages which are using, but then he clarifies in the next message which just came right now that that basically RxJS doesn't have any additional dependencies, I guess. So it like handles the native WebSocket, right?
yeah. So what was the question?
Yes, I'm sorry. I just tried to like make sense. So basically the question was if there is like some security concern like in terms of like using like those packages, but then the question was clarified further that basically RxJS supposedly doesn't have additional dependencies, so it probably accesses only the socket directly, so there should not be actually, I guess.
Yeah, it's a wrapper. It's just a wrapper around the WebSocket object available in the browser, and with with a reactive, which is a reactive extension. Okay, a reactive extension with multiplexing support, buffering support, emitting, and pushing message support. Yeah. It's with all this stuff, serialization and deserialization, customization. Yeah, there are many event typing workaround. There are many additional features, let's say, but still it's not really expensive. Okay, it's a wrapper.
Yeah, definitely.
With a reactive support.
And gets you a lot out of the box. Maybe like last question to wrap it up. So we seen like in your demo, for example, like you have like some like financial dashboard, but can you maybe tell us more about like some real life use cases which you can, where this kind of solution can be like really like the best or like the fitting solution to solve, and maybe also like the projects you used it on?
Yeah, I'm thinking about traffic detection. I mean, those applications that detects the traffic. Okay, even with traffic tracking. Okay, so it will be very useful in this case because it's performant and very fast. Okay, so it's very interesting and useful in those kind of use cases. Analytics, dashboard, financial, those are on the same category. even chat use cases, I mean chat panels, etc. Yeah, I'm thinking about those use cases generally, which are the real use cases after all. But yeah, still depends on the features that you want to implement. There's no, I mean, a perfect solution for every use case.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it depends. You have in every use case, you can find your best solution. I mean, yeah.
No, but I think it's like very nice, like to provide like people also with like some real life experiences, because if somebody is like new to this and like, okay, we have this cool technology, but where could I use it? So like to just give like the starting pointers, I think that's very valuable. So
Yeah.
Lamis, thank you very much for the amazing talk. Wish you the
Thank you
great
too.
rest of the day. Feel free to hang out with people in the chat if they have some more questions and stuff. And yeah,
Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any question. So
great.
yeah, I'm always there.
Thanks and see you
It
next
was very nice meeting you.
time.